Rusame reader, Crow Song! And today I will be reading to you from Stars and Moonflowers in Our Garden by RainbowStar_772. That's me! Now, on to Chapter 19, More Than Just Fond. Russia smiled a little to himself, deciding to take a sip of the tea America had brought him. The other was so thoughtful and kind. The blend was really nice, and he liked it. He'd have to thank America later. He'd do that when he returned the mug. He'd be keeping the blend, even though he was sure he probably wouldn't need it again. Or rather, he probably would need it again. He was just hoping he wouldn't. He sighed to himself, taking a seat back at the edge of his bed before taking another sip. After a while, he found himself getting tired. He finished the cup of tea and felt relaxed and calm. He laid back into the bed after putting the empty mug on his bedside table. After laying down, he fell back asleep almost immediately. He woke up while the sun was rising, yawning a bit as he stretched. Luckily, it was early enough that his dad was not waking him up, which meant it was early. He smiled to himself, stumbling out of bed and getting dressed. After a quiet breakfast with his family, he started heading to his first class. He decided he'd check the chamomiles after that class. Specifically after his second class, because he'd have about an hour of buffer time before his third class. His anticipation to go check the chamomiles for a response made time feel slower. But he managed, paying attention to the classes to the best of his ability. Once the first two were over, he ran over to the small patch of chamomile flowers. He spotted a response in an envelope and excitedly grabbed it, hopping off to his room to go read it. Once he was in his room, he gently opened the letter. He was excited about what America had replied to him with. He unfolded the letter and began to read it. Dear Neeks, writing is a good hobby to have. I find myself enjoying it as well, even when it pertains to reports I need to write for my job. Honestly, writing these feels like passing notes in class, but in a fun way. It's not like we feel like we're going to get caught. It's more like we have conflicting schedules. Anyway, my friend, Japan, says she needs your height and weight, as well as race. So, being awake at night without consequences may have to wait, or it'll have to until you're comfortable with meeting up and or sharing your height and race. The dosage rules aren't exactly incremental, apparently, which is unusual for potions, according to her. So that'll have to wait until we meet in person. Sorry. If you're a disaster, you'd know, especially when around someone you find attractive. Or you could be unaware. Ask someone you trust about it. They'll probably be honest with you. And, oh dear, I'm very flattered, knowing that someone finds me attractive. I don't see it myself, but I'm flattered, thank you. My friend Mexico has a pretty good head on his shoulders, so I agree with you there. Also, Argentina cornered me in my office. I crave death. I was lucky that Russia got there and stopped her before she tried to kiss me again. I will eventually find a way to thank him for that. As for your guess of me being a baseline human, no, I wish. But that's an interesting guess. As for Kalion, I'm not one. Wing binding and tail tucking, no matter your race, is detrimental and damaging. I've treated cases of tail tucking in a deer guard, and let me tell you, the broken bones on that poor doe. She felt obligated to stay in her half-shift form, but people had apparently been tugging and messing with her tail. That stuff doesn't fly. I've also seen tucking in longer-tailed shifts, but usually they tuck in a way that just causes stiffness. They usually wrap their tails around themselves. But if they go the route of having their tail down one side of their pants, I've seen broken bones. I've also seen tucking in the Keleon. It was during my travels. She was wing binding and tail tucking. She had broken bones throughout her tail, and her wing binding almost caused permanent damage. I understand why she did it, but my goodness, is it never worth it. If you happen to be considering tail tucking to get a job, this is my message of it not being worth it. Also, Anatoly is adorable. I'd like to pet him. Would you introduce me if we met in person knowingly? Also, Bean just chased my inkwell off my desk. I will not. Okay, maybe I will. He's been given pets and told they're from you. Sincerely, Aku. Russia grimaced as he read about the cases of tail tucking America had written about. He hadn't considered tail tucking, and with that warning, he never would. He started writing his own response to the letter, finding himself frowning at America writing, "I crave death." It made him worry for his friend, who he had realized he most definitely had a crush on. He shook away that thought and continued writing, hoping that his response letter might make America feel better. Once he was content with his response and guesses, he put the letter in an envelope and wrote, "From Neeks to Aku," on the back. He took his response to the patch of chamomile flowers and hid his letter among them. After that, he walked back inside the castle, walking to America's office to spend the last bit of his break with the healer. He walked in and found America treating someone's wound. It was the person he'd heard America call Tally, who he still didn't know the name of. America did an upward nod at him before he went back to work. It was a casual acknowledgement of him, which told him that America was comfortable with his presence. Russia smiled a little at that and took a seat in a chair near America. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time. And I will see you tomorrow.